Hi, Mr. Gutierrez. My name is Carly Melder, and I'm your registered dietitian. It's very nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
It's nice to meet you as well. I'm feeling okay. I'm still just a little shocked and frustrated by how I was treated while I was at the hospital.
Sure, yeah, I totally understand that. I'm really sorry about how you're feeling. I know this is really frustrating, and all of these new things came upon you, while you were at the hospital. But I hope after today you feel a little bit more at ease about your situation and that I'm able to help you out just a little bit.
Okay.
Is there anything specific that you want to make sure that we cover today or make sure that we talk about or anything like that?
Basically, just want to cover the basics and like how I should go about my diet moving forward.
Sure, yeah, definitely. We can definitely do that. So I'll just kind of take you through about what we're probably going to be doing today. So basically, we'll kind of just cover the basics of, type 1 diabetes. Since, you're kind of unfamiliar with that area, I'll help you with that. I'm also going to discuss the plate method with you and just a little bit about your carbohydrates and your diabetic diet that you should be following. So I kind of just want to start you with the basics for right now. And then as we have more appointments leading up to this, we'll kind of just build on top of all this new knowledge. So you don't feel like you're super overwhelmed with just all this new information. So How does that sound to you?
Sounds great to me.
Awesome. Okay. So I'll just start with like a few questions first, just to kind of dive into a little bit of background information with you and just kind of talk about your hospital experience and also just to learn more about you. So how many times would you say that you eat throughout the day right now?
Probably, I'll say 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
Typically.
And then what do you usually have for those meals?
Well, I usually have for breakfast, I usually have toast with jelly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what type of toast or anything?
No, that's okay.
Okay.
And then what about lunch?
Lunch, I usually typically have some type of pizza or pasta or something like that.
Okay. And then what about dinner for you?
Usually I have either a few tamales or quesadillas.
Okay. And then do you snack or anything right now, or what do your snacks look like?
I mean, I do some at times, but not typically.
Okay. And then what do you normally drink throughout the day?
Usually I have coffee and I'll have a soda every now and then. And then I'll also have I'll drink quite a bit of water.
Okay, great. And then have you started any exercise or anything since you left the hospital, or how's that looking for you?
I mean, I'm typically a little pretty active at my job, but I don't really do much outside.
Gotcha. And then how's your smoking been?
I've been about a pack or so a day.
Okay, so probably about the same as since you've been in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then have you been checking your blood sugar at all, or how's that routine been looking like, or have you started one? Or
I usually check it when I wake up in the morning right before I go to bed.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And then lastly, what are some challenges or barriers you feel like you may be facing right now or may be facing in the near future?
I mean, just mainly unsure what the difference between the type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
I'm not really too well versed on that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope after today you feel a little bit better about that. So with that being said, are you ready to go ahead and kind of jump into this information about type 1 diabetes?
I am.
Perfect. Okay. So first we're going to start with a little bit of the basics, and I just want to let you know all the stuff that we're going to be going through today. I'll also send you a copy home so you feel comfortable with reviewing that information and you'll know what to do with that.
Okay.
So starting out, we'll just talk a little bit about the basics. So with your type of diabetes, you're insulin resistant, so you depend on insulin. So getting on a really good and strict insulin regimen is a really important thing to do. And also just making sure that your eating habits match up with that. And one of the best things to do with that is using the plate method, and we'll get into plate method in just 1 second. But we just want to make sure that whenever you're eating your carbohydrates, so if you're having your toast with your breakfast or having pasta with your lunch, things like that, we want to make sure that your intake of carbohydrates is pretty consistent with each of your meals and every day. We kind of want that to be pretty consistent. So we need to make sure we're doing that, and then discussing the different types of insulin. Have you been kind of told about that at all, or just kind of unsure about?
I think I remember them mentioning it, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, you haven't started anything yet, so okay, well, we'll kind of get into that a little bit too, but there are a lot of different types just depending on kind of your habits, kind of your eating habits, what you're doing for work, all that type of stuff, and we can kind of pinpoint something that works best for you. So kind of just based off of what you were telling me, a rapid acting insulin sounds like it would be a really good choice for you. And of course, we needed to confirm that with your doctor and make sure they agree with us on that. But a rapid acting insulin would be perfect. There's a lot of different ones that you can look at, so we can kind of let your doctor decide and kind of look into that and see what may be the right choice for you. So with those, you usually take them, usually inject yourself with it, right before meals, just to make sure that your insulin levels are good and your blood sugar levels are great after meals. So just want to make sure that we're kind of on the same page with that. Did you have any questions about any of this information we just went over, or anything, or how did all of that sound?
Sounds good so far. I mean, I don't think I really have any questions yet.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to the plate method. Really like this. Like I said, I have all these handouts that I'll go through with you. So this is the plate method right here. And as you can see on this plate right here, we want to make sure that our plate, for one, is a salad size or a kid size plate. That will help you be able to fill your plate up with all this delicious food, but it'll also help you work on your portion sizes and make sure that you're prioritizing the right foods. So as you see right here, the plate's basically sectioned into 3 different sections. This big section right here would be your veggies, specifically your non-starchy veggies. So your non-starchy veggies could be things like broccoli, green beans, carrots, onions, peppers, all those great ones. Your more starchy ones would be like your corn, some squashes, some peas. Those types would be considered more starchy. So you want to try to make half your plate your non-starchy veggies, just however way you like to cook it. Just try not to deep fry it. We don't want any extra of that. And the next fourth of your plate should be your protein. So we prefer it to be more lean proteins. Proteins are great because they're a little bit lower in calorie, but they also keep you fuller for a longer period of time. And your proteins really help balance out your blood sugars when they're paired with a carbohydrate. So we just want to make sure that we're pairing our proteins with your carbs. So the last third of your plate is going to be your carbohydrates. So your carbohydrates can range through, various things. It could be like those, like potatoes and squashes and corns like we were talking about, or it could be like breads, pasta, rice. All of those would be considered your carbs. Now we want to try to do more complex carbs. And our complex carbs are just things that have a little bit more fiber, a little bit more nutrients. So if you do like a bread, for example, doing something like a whole grain bread that has more nutrients in it, also a little bit more fiber, just has more benefits for you. And it'll help with how your body digests the sugar as well. So we want to try to do more complex carbohydrates. So this is how your plate should be looking like about 80% of the time. Okay. Now the other 20%, like if it's your birthday or you're going out to your favorite restaurant, you can still have the things that you love, but we just want to make sure that we still have a good protein in there. We also try to include veggies, whenever you can, and try to do more complex carbs. So maybe you are having pasta one day or, pizza. Maybe you can get a side of veggies with it just to help balance it out just a little bit more, or maybe try to add in a lean protein with that. So there's different things that you can do to make a meal more nutritionally dense, just to help a little bit with that.
Okay.
So as you see down here, it breaks down some of those food groups that we were talking about and gives you examples. So I always like to have lists and examples, makes it a little bit easier. So there's a list for you to look through of some different non-starchy veggies, some lean proteins, and also just some carbohydrate foods. So this is a good thing to look back. And then lastly, I just want to talk about your beverages. So overall, doing lots of water is always a great thing. We want to try to limit your sugary beverage intake, so whether that's your Dr. Pepper or maybe sweet tea or whatever you may like to drink throughout the day, we want to try to limit that a little bit more. So I don't want you to get your calories from your drinks, because those don't really have really good nutritional benefits from it. We want the beverages to be something that will hydrate you and give you some benefits, but also be a little bit lower in calorie, not as high in sugar. Because like I was saying, we just want your calories to be coming from the drinks itself. So if you have like 2 Dr. Peppers every single day, maybe this week you can work on just having 1 a day. Maybe the week after that, just try to have, 3 throughout the whole week. And slowly work yourself down so you just don't feel like you're going cold turkey all at once. And also kind of that with your smoking as well. It can definitely make a big difference, with diabetics if they're smoking or not. So we want to try to work our way down off of smoking just so we can just improve our overall health. So whether you need to go to some different counseling for that, or if there's any ways that I can help you with that, I'd be happy to. So yeah, did you have any questions about the plate method or any of that?
I don't think so. Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. And do you feel good about all the information that we went through today?
Yeah.
And then do you have any questions about any of the information from like your hospital or anything they talked about there? Or you feel?
I feel like any questions I had were answered.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's always great. And what do you think about maybe setting some goals for yourself that we can kind of cover the next time you come, and just different things to kind of keep you accountable for our next visit?
I'd say probably, first and foremost, just controlling my blood sugar levels more, and also checking those levels more frequently. Also to follow that plate method, eat more balanced meals, and also pairing the carbohydrates with proteins.
Yeah. Those are some great goals to get started with, kind of ease our way into all of that. I think those were some really realistic goals that I can kind of check in with you for our next visit. So kind of speaking of that, when would be, a good time for you to come back for us to kind of dive a little bit more deep into all of this information?
From 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay, awesome. So how about we just go ahead and do about 4 weeks, so we can kind of do a monthly visit until you just feel a little bit more comfortable with all this new information, and we can definitely make it work with your schedule and whatever works best for you. So how does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, well, Mr. Gutierrez, it was really nice to meet with you today, and I look forward to our next visit.
It's nice to meet you too. Thank you.
Thank you.